Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we'll just discuss about the crystal defects, right? So we just start with this introduction part. Actually, in the last few classes, we have learned about what is actually matter is composed of. So you already know matter is composed of solids and fluids have been classified into liquids and gases. And here we are giving a due importance to the solid material, and in that solid material the solid materials have been further classified into crystalline solids and non-crystalline solids. These crystalline solids is again subclassified as the single crystal and polycrystal. And then since the crystal itself is a three-dimensional object, so we studied some important parameters regarding this three-dimensional objects in two-dimension. So in order to look this three-dimensional object in two-dimension, we had assumed the lattice points. So what is actually the meaning of lattice points? They are the imaginary points, and we say that these imaginary points are nothing but the atoms which are residing in the crystal may be arranged in a regular fashion. So, with this assumption, we have moved forward and we said that space lattice, right, and crystal lattice, and then we studied about basis. So, and then we proceed further assumption about the lattice parameters, and with the help of these lattice parameters, we come to the conclusion that on the Earth crust there are seven crystal systems. The entire solids have been classified into seven crystal system, right? And these seven crystal systems, depending on the lattice parameters, have been classified into cubic, tetragonal, orthorhombic, rhombohedral, hexagonal, monoclinic, and triclinic. And we had seen the different parameters regarding this. And also we studied about Miller indices. So why we studied Miller indices? The previous classes. Miller indices will mathematically give us the information regarding the density of the constituent particles which are uh, present in the crystal. So, with this, what we say that this is what we studied about the crystal uh, structure, and then we moved further, and in that we have studied about the distance between the two consecutive lattice planes, interplanar spacing of the cubic crystal. So, um, and and then we have gone for X-ray diffraction, and the X-ray diffraction. What is actually the meaning of X-ray diffraction? We had seen some videos also, and we had an information that see how the rays when they are entering, X-rays are entering inside the crystal, they will give a structure, and that rays as they are diffracting, they should first of all should satisfy the Bragg's equation. And then we moved further about different X-ray diffraction methods, and in that methods we studied one method, that is powder method, which has given us the information regarding the polycrystalline material, right? And we have seen the applications of this powder method. Why actually we need to study about this X-ray diffraction methods, and we just seen the different advantages and also few disadvantages, and then we have proceed and we have just done some numericals regarding Miller indices and the interplanar spacing. Now actually we are moving to the next important chapter, that is chapter 2. In this chapter 2 we are actually want to discuss the ideal. From ideal we are moving to the practical uh, way. So right now in the chapter 1 we had completed a discussion regarding the theoretical uh, assumptions of the crystal. So we thought that the crystals inside the crystal, the constituent particles, these constituent particles are nothing but atoms, molecules, or ions. They may be arranged in this particular fashion, regular arrangement may be there, right? This was the theoretical assumption. So practically, when we just see practically, the exact crystal structure, and also how the atoms or molecules or the ions that are known as constituent particles are arranged inside the crystal, then we need to know an important aspect that definitely there is some deviation in the regular arrangement of the atoms, what we assumed theoretically in chapter 1. So here we just start that what is that deviation actually we are observing inside the crystal. So right now, I think that I have given you the previous idea regarding what we studied in the chapter 1. So with this, we are moving to the chapter 2, and we say that since the so theoretically, first we talk about theoretically. So crystal is nothing but a regular uh, arrangement of the atoms uh, such that the environment about each point is the identical, and when the if there is not a regular arrangement of the atoms practically, see, this statement says theoretical, and this statement tells us the practical the practically how the crystals how the constituent particles which are residing inside the crystal look like. So there will be some deviation, the atoms or molecules or the ions, they are not arranged in a regular fashion. So regular fashion, so that is the reason that we say that the any deviation from the regular arrangement is known as defects, or we say that that is imperfection in the crystal. So this definition of this imperfection or the defect in the crystal is also you can write right as also the deviation from the perfect periodicity of the atomic arrays inside the crystal, or you can say that the imperfections which is uh, the imperfection of the arrangement of the atoms inside the crystal is known as crystal defect. So as we move to the next slide, you can see that second one. So you see that the crystal defects affect what is the why we are studying actually the crystal defects. So definitely these defects, defect means you need to keep in mind that the arrangement of the constituent particles are not in a regular fashion. If the arrangement of the constituent particles, either atoms, molecules, or the ions, if they are not in the regular fashion, then definitely we say that that is called actually defect in the crystal, and that is called crystal defect. So these crystal defect. So what if the atoms, molecules, or the ions are not arranged in a regular fashion? Then what will happen? What will happen to the properties of the crystal? We are seeing this. The crystal defects affect the properties. What type of properties? Either that may be mechanical property, strength, ductility, growth of the crystal, dielectric strength, magnetic magnetic property also, that is called magnetic hysteresis, and conductivity. And also, so there are so many properties that is affected by the defects in the crystal. So next, as you know that the perfect crystal in every atom will be in the particular position, and this is not actually, this is theoretical assumption, right? We say that is called perfect. There is nothing thing which is perfect, right? You already know. So thus in practically thus all the crystals have some somehow some defects will be there, and these defects may be confined to a particular point. See, if there is a crystal and that crystal is a shape of a cube, and you just take any corner, if the at the corner, if the constituent particles are not arranged in a regular fashion, at that point only we say that defect is nothing but point defect. And if the atoms or the molecules or the ions, which we say that that is called constituent particles, if they if these constituent particles are not arranged properly in a particular horizontal way, so if these atoms are not exactly arranged in a regular fashion in the horizontal position, we say that is called Rhine defect. And what we say surface defect, that is actually the two-dimensional defect. See, we start with point defect, that is called point. That point defect is also known as zero-dimension defect. Line defects is also known as one-dimension defect. Surface is two-dimension defect, and volume is also three-dimension defect. And we just see that what is actually how this point defect occur, line, surface, and volume, with the help of a very good schematic a view of the crystal with which you can easily understand how this is happening, right, inside the practically inside the crystal, right. Now, the basic different classification of the crystal defect, you can see that just now I told you that are the point defects, that is also known as zero dimensional defect, line defect, that is called one dimensional defect, surface defects, that is also known as two dimensional defect, and also at last we go for volume defects, and that is called three dimensional defect, right. So we'll just have a very clear in detail view what is actually meaning of the point defect and what are the live examples that are available uh, in our daily life, right. So we just have a very good discussion regarding this point defect. So the point defects are one dimensional defects, and when the atom is missing in a irregular, what is meaning of irregular, the atoms are not arranged in a regular fashion. If the atom is missing in a given structure, so we just say that is called point defect. And this point defect, right, the missing of the atom at a particular point, right, at a particular point, we say that these irregular movement of the atom or the missing of the atom in the lattice structure or the crystal structure, right, we say that that is actually the meaning of point defect. So the point defect produces, how this is produced, see how this point defect is coming into picture. What is the reason? See, a point defect produces a strain, that is the what you can say extra force in a very small volume of the crystal. Some strain or the force, right, is applied, and due to which the what you can say that there will be production of point defect. And definitely with the point defect, it will not affect the other parts of the crystal, and the point defect whatever we are seeing, right, at that particular point, it will not affect, it will not have any impact on the other part of the crystal. That you should be very clear that that is the meaning of point defect, and how this point defect is not affecting the other parts of the crystal. Understood, everybody? I think that you got a clear idea. So there are four types of point defects. So I say that some at a particular point only, there will be some deviation in the atoms. So how this deviation in the atoms occurs? There are four different methods by means of which the atoms are missing inside the crystal, right? Right. So what are that four different types? First one is vacancies. Second one is interstitial defect. Third one is substitutional defect. And the fourth one, we say that is called electronic defect. Now, this is the subclassification of the point. How the atoms will be missed in the crystal if there is an existence of the point defect. You can just see this. First, we just start with vacancies. What is actually the meaning of vacancy? See, if uh, someone asks you what is actually the meaning of vacancy, so you say that the missing some open space, right? So vacancies are nothing but a simplest point defect you can see in a crystal, which refers to missing the atom from its regular arrangement, or we say that in the physics language, a regular site. So the defect which is occurring due to the missing of the atoms, you can see at their, this is called lattice site. What is lattice site? These are imaginary way of arranging the lattice points, or you can say that is called constituent particles. So if there is in this regular arrangement, if something is missing, some atom is missing, and we say that is called the vacancies. So the crystal lattice with the vacancy defect is given in this particular schematic diagram. So what is actually the meaning of vacancy? The defect in which there will be missing of the atoms at the open space. You can see that the missing of the atoms at the regular site which is vacant, and in the regular arrangement of the atoms, right? So now this we just move to the next one. So what is actually vacancy defects is nothing but it is due to the imperfect packing due to the formation. So when the crystal is growing, right, in that particular instant only there will be imperfect packing formation, right, of the atoms. And at very high temperature also, the atoms are frequently definitely change their position, leaving the empty sites, right, behind their position. So for most crystal, the thermal energy will be in the order of 1 electron volt per vacancy. So the number of vacancies per unit volume, the crystal actually depends upon some factors, right? So definitely every missing atom per unit volume in the regular arrangement of the crystal depends upon the temperature. So in the case of an ionic crystal, when there are two different types of point defects. So ionic crystal means you can just have an example of NaCl. So here Na plus and Cl minus cation ions will be there. When I talk about ions, cations, right? So in that particular crystals, there is that defect is observed in the constituent particles. We simply say that that is actually the ionic. In the ionic crystal, there will be existence of point defect. So there are two examples of this type of point defects which are observed in the ionic crystal is Schottky defect and the Frenkel defect that you already studied in your lower classes, right? So now we can see that what is actually the meaning of Schottky defect. So it is, see, we are studying about vacancies, right? Previously, just now I told you, we are studying about vacancies. In that vacancies, Schottky and Frenkel is one of the subtopic, right? So which is a special, you can just see, there's a special case of vacancies defects in the ionic crystal. So what is the definition? When a pair of vacancies is produced at one positive ion site and one negative ion site due to the absence of the positive and the negative ions, then this type of defect is known as Schottky defect. So what is that actually? Only definition, I'm just reading out this. So how you say that what is Schottky defect? So the equal missing of the positive and the negative ion side, right? So we just say that is called actually Schottky defect. In ionic crystal, there are two types of possible vacancies, that are cation vacancies. And definitely when we talk about ionic crystal, so two types of vacancies may be possible. That is the cation and the ion, right? So I think that you got a clear idea. So you see, when a positive ion from the interior of the lattice site moves to the crystal to its surface, then the positive vacancy is formed to its side. And the formation of this positive ion vacancy results in the excess negative charge inside the crystal. To maintain the neutrality of positive and the negative, so a negative ion moves to the crystal's surface, creating a negative ion vacancy. So now this is the way how we can maintain the charge neutrality inside the crystal. I think that you got some idea. Example of Schottky defect is NaCl, that is sodium chloride and cesium chloride. The formation of vacancies, see, you can see the schematic diagram where you can see that there is a cation and anion, cation and anion. Okay. Now let's see, when we talk about the Frenkel defect, so in a complete pair of positive ions and the negative ions which are exactly missing, that is called the Frenkel defect. Here, in the Schottky defect, they are not exactly missing. Some um, one of the atom will be missing, and we just say that is called the Schottky defect here. So let us consider the actual arrangement of the distribution of cation and the anion in a ionic crystal. So when a positive ion leaves this site, and definitely it will settle interstitial position. What is the meaning of interstitial? See, if there are two atoms, one another, one by one. So if some two persons are sitting in between that, there will be definitely space. You not in this particular corona period also, you can see this. I'm talking about this particular corona period where you will not sit with your friend, right? At least right, we are thinking that we are maintaining a distance of 1 meter. So there is some space in between the two friends, right? So for that space, if some atom is replacing that particular space which are there in between these two atoms, then we say that is called your interstitial defect. And hence we can say that vacancy and the interstitial defect is together, they are actually known as Frenkel defect. And this Frenkel defect is maintained to maintain a charge neutrality right? I think that you got a clear idea that the Frankel defect is the combination of the, you can say that this is a combination of the vacancy and the interstitial defect. Just now we just discussed what is actually the meaning of interstitial. Examples is silver bromide, silver chloride, and zinc sulfide, etc., which is exhibiting the Frankel defect. You can see the schematic diagram. The formation of Frankel defect is described in the position. This particular position, you see this missing atom. There is some vacancy here, and I already told you what is interstitial. Then between these two ions, there is some space, and that some space, if some another foreign atom replaces, and we just say that is called interstitial defect. So the combination of the interstitial and the vacancy, we just say that is actually the uh, Frankel defect. So interstitial, just now I told you that vacancy and interstitial. So what is interstitial? When an impurity atom tries to settle in between, just now I told you, between the parent atoms of the crystal without displacing, then we just say that is defect is known as interstitial. So interstitial impurities are very smaller when compared with the atoms in the bulk state, and the formation of interstitial impurity defect, you can see the figure also. You see the formation, there are regular arrangement of the atoms here. So these open space is, if it is filled by some atom, right? If it's an object, an atom, we say that that is actually the interstitial impurity. So example for it, for this interstitial defect is carbon, are the interstitial impurity atoms that are available in the to the iron to make a steel. So with this, you can just see that carbon in a iron is a good example of interstitial impurity. So what is actually substitutional defect? When an impurity atom, here we are just moving to the next part of the uh, defects. So what is actually the meaning of substitution defect? So when an impurity atom occupies one of the position of the parent atom of the given crystal, we just say that it's called substitutional defect, right? So the substitutional impurity of the atom of a different type, definitely it will be different for the heavy object or heavy atom. So usually substitutional atoms are very close in size with approximately very less, right? So you just have an information that formation of substitutional impurity it can be shown. See, so there are parent atoms which has been shown with the blue spheres, and if I just replace this parent atom with the a foreign atom, and that is the reason that we are just colored had the chain of the sphere. So that is called actually the substitutional defect. You can have an example just given by the uh, right example of this slide. So zinc atoms are substitutional impurity atoms that are added to copper to make a brass. In brass, zinc atoms with the radius of 0.113 nanometer have replaced some of the copper side of a radius of 0.128. So now this still this particular process is going on. So what is actually the meaning of electronic defect? So errors in the charge distribution. Just now we had plus minus, cation, anion. So the error in this particular charge distribution in solid, we say that is called electronic defect. So these defects are actually produced when the composition of the ionic crystal actually doesn't correspond to the exact uh, stoichiometric formula which you just studied in the intermediate. Just now, just well, that when we talk about this, so we are not dealing with this stoichiometry already. You just read it now. So what is actually the line defects? So they are also known as linear defects or dislocation, and they're also known as, just now we discussed, they are one-dimensional defect. So dislocation are the areas where the atoms are out of position in the crystal structure. So atoms will not be residing uh, for a healthy man. As the atoms are residing one by one, they are frequently arranged in a very systematic manner. If these atoms are not arranged in this particular format, so you just say that is called the dislocation, and this dislocation of one-dimensional defect, that is around which some of the atoms are not exactly aligned in a particular direction. So thus dislocation refers to a linear disturbance of the atomic arrangement in a crystal, and the dislocations are generated inside the crystal due to the growth accidents, thermal stress, phase transmission, etc. So this can be observed in the crystalline materials with the help of the electron microscope. By seeing the electron microscope, you can see the different types of defect. So here dislocation is actually classified into edge dislocation and screw dislocation. And what is this dislocation? Not in a particular way how the atom should be arranged, right? So that is, we say that it's called, we just use a terminology and we say that it's called dislocation, right? Understood everybody? So what is actually the meaning of edge dislocation? If the one of the vertical plane does not extend it to the full length but ends in the between in the crystal, then the that defect is called edge dislocation. You can see that vertical plane, one of the vertical plane are not extending to the length, exact full length. So we just say that particular dislocation is a edge dislocation. In perfect crystal, you can see schematic diagram. In the perfect crystal, the atoms will be arranged in this particular format. Now, if you can see this I'm talking about this, right? If one of the vertical planes does not extend to the full length, you can see one of the vertical, this is vertical plane, and they are not extending themselves to the downward, right, at this particular point, and we just say that it's called edge dislocation. And because of this dislocation, you can see there is a discontinuity in the atoms arrangement, right? And we say that is called a type of you can say impurity. Now we can just move on to the next one. So example of this edge dislocation. So the maximum distortion is centered around the edge of the incomplete plane. You can just see the distortion represents a line imperfection and is called edge dislocation. So you can just see edge dislocations can be represented with this particular symbol wherein, so when the incomplete plane starts from the top of the crystal, then it's called positive edge dislocation and represented as this particular symbol. So when the incomplete plane start from the bottom of the crystal, you can see the figure, then it is called negative edge dislocation, and this is represented by this particular figure. You can just see this particular figure. So the screw dislocation are also known as Berger's dislocation. Just now we just studied screw and edge dislocation. So now the screw dislocation are also known as the Berger dislocation. So these dislocations arises due to the displacement of atoms in one part of the crystal and which is related to the other part. So now this type of defects are not exactly seen, right? And we cannot do anything regarding this. So consider a perfect crystal which is having a regular periodic arrangement of the atoms. You can see when one of the face of the crystal is cut midway along the AB and applying a shear and stress parallel to the cutting plane. So what will happen? You can see. So let these crystals on the right side of the cut will be shifted and related to that one of the left side by an amount of B. So from the above figure, we can just say that the shift which has been occurred on the particular one spacing of the atomic in the predominant part of the crystal and the and reach the line O dash. I will just show you away from the line O dash. The crystal structure is undisturbed and shows an orderly arrangement of the atoms. You can just say this is along the cut boundary, the atoms get displaced and the two regions will be mismatched condition. And this dislocation, we just say that is called known as dislocation line. Hence, the dislocation is here. If the from the top surface, the dislocation of the atoms will be in the form of a screw. So then simply we just say this is called screw dislocation, previous case. And the Berger's vector come into picture. This is the mathematical way how the arrangement is going on, how the treatment is, you can just say how it has been thought. So the magnitude and the direction of the lattice disturbances or distortion, so which is due to the dislocation, we just say that is called the Berger's vector. So right now the dislocation is represented by mathematically by a Berger's name of the scientist. We just say Berger vector, which is denoted by small b. So the magnitude of Berger vector is found. We can know the, since we say the vector quantity is a vector, so it will have both magnitude and direction. So therefore, we are just written here. We are assuming that the magnitude of the Berger's vector is found to be a very closed circuit around the dislocation line, and this circuit is called Berger's circuit. You can just see. You please see this P, right, arrow mark, and when we just say horizontal, right? So P. So starting in the figure, you can see the starting point is here P. We are going in this particular direction. We go up by 6 steps. See, 1 2 3 4 5 6 steps, right? Then move towards right. See, we are just going through 6 steps, right? 1 2 3 4. So then 6 5 6. So then move towards the right. 1 2 3 4 5. 5 steps, right? So there will previously there will be one or two, right? So and finally move towards the left. So 1 2 3 4 5, and steps to reach the point P, and the Berger circuit is closed. So very simple idea of how this Burgess circuit look like, and what is actually going on to the to nowadays. We just definitely will come to know that this is having various application. So this is about the Burgess vector. So in order to understand more clearly, just see, we have just taken an example. So let us consider the case of edge dislocation. As this is the edge dislocation, you can see this is the edge dislocation. So what we'll do that when we have to move an extra step to return to P. So when the same operation is performed on the crystal, we end up to Q instead of the starting point P. And you see, now we have to move to the next extra step to return to the point P in order to close the Burgess circuit. So how we'll write that Burgess circuit mathematically? QP dash is equal to V. So now this is not actually I was exactly, we don't go in depth. So what is actually here? You can see that considering the Burgess circuit, you can see P M O N, right? Circuit in this perfect crystal starting from the point P. If we trace out the circuit is closed. You can say P N O P. So as shown in the figure regarding this. So in the case of a crystal with a screw, I see the dislocation here is in the form of a screw. So we just say that is called screw dislocation, and which is given by B is equal to the value of B is FA, which is actually parallel to the dislocation axis. You can just see this FA is parallel to the dislocation axis. So this additional vector V is actually small v is known as the Burgess vector. So here we are not going in depth about the surface defects and so on. So with this, I think that I will take leave for today's class. We just complete this today's class, and in the tomorrow's class again we'll move further in the what you can say in the chapter 2, that is the defects in the crystal. So just end in today's class. Thank you everybody. Thank you for your patience.